What's up, guys? So, clickbaity is clickbait. Yes, Jeff Cavalier's 10 by 10, 70 to 80% with 60-second rest is stupid. There's no way around it. There's no way defending it. It's not a good strategy to lose weight. You lose weight in a caloric deficit. If you're in a caloric deficit, you damn sure don't want to be doing 10 by 10s with 70 to 80% and 60-second rest. You don't want to be doing 10 by 10s with 70 to 80% rest, or 70 to 80% one rep max with 60 seconds rest if you're drinking 2 gallons of juicy juice a week. Uh, it's not a good strategy for anything. But what I want to point out here is a viable strategy to use 60-second rests while squatting. I saw it in Alec on Curie's comment section. I kind of gave a brief answer there, how to make that a viable strategy. Because somebody asked, should you ever use 60-second rests while squatting? And yes, you can. I'm speaking in terms of powerlifting. This could be applied elsewhere, but we're going to keep this within the realm of powerlifting. That's what I know. I've squatted 775 pounds in competition drug-free. So, here it is. If you want to use 60-second rests for your squats, it is a viable strategy in terms of a conditioning block. You're not going to use 10 by 10s at 70 to 80%. I would suggest starting with, you could start as low as a 3 by 5 with 50%. I would say maybe that's a bit low of a starting point. However, it is not where you start, it's where you finish, and you can always add. So do not ever be afraid to start too low or too easy, because you can always add. You can't take away. I mean, you can take away, but that defeats the purpose of progressive overload. It is much easier to make adjustments adding by starting too easily. However, I would, like a 5 by 5, 55 to 65%, just to be on the safe side. If you're a more advanced and fairly conditioned athlete, obviously you can start a little higher. You can maybe do a 3 by 8 or a 5 by 8. However, just generally you can start 5 by 5, 55 to 65%, and start with 3-minute rests. It's a good starting point. Most people can pretty easily manage that in shape or not. Week 1, rest for 3 minutes. Week 2, and you can draw this out as long or short as you want to, however you feel comfortable. That's the thing, with personal programming in regards to customizing for yourself. You can always adjust for yourself. Nothing is set in stone other than progressively overloading. And there's a myriad of ways to do that. Anyway, just a sample. Start 5 by 5, 60% with 3-minute rest. 1 session a week, 2 sessions a week, whatever you do. 3-minute rest, strict 3-minute rest. Week 2, 2.5-minute rests. Week 3, 2-minute rests. Week 4, minute and a half rests. Deload. Week 5, minute and a half rest again. Week 6, minute rests. Week 7, 30 seconds rest between each set. Week 8, I would do the 30 seconds rest again. At that point, you've been using the same weight, same set, same reps this whole time. And there's nothing wrong with that. You've been gradually bringing that rest period down. If you want to deload again, I'm a every 4-week deload guy. I think it's great. You don't have to do that. Again, alter this any way you want. This is just a sample. After you get those 60-second rests, and I suggest doing the same set reps, weights, two weeks in a row with a 60 seconds rest to make sure you're fully acclimated to it. At that point, add reps, add sets. You can add weight. That's certainly a thing too. Being that this is more conditioning, I would add sets or reps. And, another 4 weeks, 60 seconds rest. And just with your added sets and reps, you can add 1 set a week. You can add 1 rep to each set a week. Again, myriad of ways to do it. 8 to 12 weeks, probably even 8 weeks is enough for a conditioning block. And once you're doing 60 seconds rests, you can then move on to whatever your next sort of muscle building block, whatever it may be. It's probably going to be some sort of muscle building block, hypertrophy block, before a strength block if you're doing like a linear type powerlifting programming. But yeah, that's a viable strategy to work your way to 60 seconds rest with squats between sets. Could you potentially work your way to a 10 by 10 with 70 to 80%? You could potentially condition yourself to do so. If that's whatever, if your goal is to get the quickest 80% 10 by 10 dones out of anybody, by all means, you can build up to that. I don't see why anybody would want to do that. And certainly for powerlifting, that's not something you're really going to build yourself up to. However, again, just like with anything else, you can progressively overload or underload, in this case, your rest times between sets as a viable option to build up your conditioning, to potentiate your next potential training block, whatever that may be, to suit your goals for powerlifting. So I've seen, a lot of criticisms, and rightly so, of the 10 by 10, 70 to 80% with 6 seconds rest. I figured I would offer up, an alternative, and something that is viable, not along those lines, because those lines are stupid, but, along the lines of working conditioning and getting your rest sets down. Again, losing weight is your diet. Don't worry about how many calories you're burning in each training session, and or trying to measure your training session by calories burned. Track your diet, make adjustments on that. See ya.